read on the media that's over in Europe. I'm going to report to you what was given to me by people that are inside the military right now that I have become friends with. Things are not looking good. Putin is over in North Korea for a 2-day meeting, and they have signed a mutual defense pact together. This obligates each one of them to come to the defense of the other. So they are prepared. Now, this is a big deal for Putin to go over there. They're preparing. This is definitely another bad sign towards a global problem. Even rumors are coming out that North Korea might feel obligated to send troops to Ukraine, so you can have North Korean soldiers with the Russians fighting. What did the Russians get out of the deal? They've gotten a ton more ammunition or artillery shells. They're getting the support. So if this thing turns violent in Russia against Europe, against NATO, this obligates North Korea to come to their aid. This could include opening up multiple fronts. They could attack South Korea. They could hit Guam with missiles. They could definitely hit Japan. So this thing would definitely be a World War III situation very, very quickly. Putin is giving technology that's going to boost the range of the missiles that North Korea has. They're also going to give missiles, and I believe a lot of technology to improve their nuclear weapons. So there's nothing good about this. This is a mutually obligate each one to come to the other one's aid. You can't get any worse news than this. North Korea has lots of manufacturing. They have a lot of slave labor over there, or people that work very cheap. They can knock out a lot of equipment. Now, some people might say their equipment is not as good. It doesn't matter. If I'm going to shoot 10 artillery rounds at a point, and I'm using North Korean ammo, I'll just shoot 20. And I'll have the same effect, and actually probably worse on the people on the other end of that. Our manufacturing is non-existent for a war effort. We have dumbed down our children through public education. Our work ethic is not there. I would feel really bad to have to draft, and the draft is going to have to happen. Young men and women. I'm not for a draft, and I'm definitely not for this war. But I know young men and women, and I wouldn't trust them to walk my dog around the block. Now I'm going to give them a gun and force them to go to war. They don't have the skill sets, they don't have the temperament, they don't have the work ethic, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to put these young men and women in risk because a bunch of politicians and a bunch of rich guys want another war. They want another war because economically we are done. Look at the interest we're paying this year alone. Very soon it's going to be more paid on interest for a year than we pay in military defense. You cannot exist as a country when you're shelling out over $1 trillion. And there's a lot of other things that are happening behind the scenes. There's definitely a push to kill the dollar. And it might not happen tomorrow unless we go into a World War III situation. About to go down. And North Korea's Kim Jong-un pledged to unconditionally support Russia in its war on Ukraine. Putin said that the strategic partnership pact signed with North Korea includes a mutual defense clause under which each country agrees to help the other repel external aggression. Okay, so what I think we're going to see here is I think we're going to see North Korea attack South Korea. And it's going to happen at the same time as Russia attacks Ukraine more. And because they have a mutual defense pact, that's going to make America afraid to attack North Korea, and it's going to make South Korea afraid to attack North Korea because they're going to be afraid that Putin is going to use tactical nukes and retaliate somehow. So here we have some video footage of Putin arriving in North Korea. This is when his plane landed. You can see him greeting Kim Jong-un, giving him a hug, and then he receives some flowers from Kim Jong-un. This is huge news, guys. This is historic. It's the first time that Putin has visited North Korea since the year 2000, okay? That is insane. That is like the first year that Putin was actually prime minister. So this is extremely serious. Here we have some footage coming out of Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, showing all these Russian flags and banners of Putin on every street light. Check this out. So you can see Putin's face there, okay, on every single street light. This is insane, guys. Look at this. So, you know, this is like going back in time to, you know, the 1970s. Look, there's Putin right there on every single street light. That is just absolutely ridiculous. And a new document was drafted which will act as a framework for ties between the two countries going forward. And this is what Putin said. Today, a new fundamental document was prepared which will lay the foundation for our relations for a long-term perspective. Interaction between the two countries is based on the principles of equality and mutual respect for each other's interests. Russia and the DPRK have been linked by a close friendship and good neighborliness for many decades. And then Putin went on to talk about the historic ties between Russia and North Korea. He said the feats of preceding generations are a good foundation for the fostering of ties between Russia and North Korea. For instance, in 1945, Soviet soldiers together with Korean patriots fought to liberate Korea from Japanese invaders. Our pilots conducted tens of thousands of combat sorties during the 1950 to 1953 Liberation War. Interesting, that's the Korean War as we know it, but Putin called it the Liberation War. Interesting. Additionally, Russia has for decades been fighting the imposed hegemony policy, the imperialist politics of the United States and its satellites. Wow, imperialist politics. And Putin said that Moscow appreciates Pyongyang's consistent and constant support for Russia's policy, including on Ukraine. He also said that there could be another meeting with Kim Jong-un in Russia soon. And I want to just read to you a summary of some other things that Putin said. So apparently Moscow does not see sanctions as a tool the West uses to maintain hegemony. The Comprehensive Partnership Agreement provides for mutual assistance in case of aggression against one of the parties. Russia and North Korea is peaceful and defensive in nature and will accelerate the creation of a new multipolar world. The new agreement between Russia and North Korea includes the development of people. And the Russian delegation to North Korea included Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, First Deputy Prime Minister Denis Manturov, Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak, Defense Minister Andrei Belousov and his Deputy for Armaments Alexei Krivoruchko, Minister of Natural Resources and Environment Alexander Kozlov, Minister of Health Mikhail Murashko, Minister of Transport Roman Starovoy, Head of Roscosmos Yuri Borisov. Kim Jong-un signing this agreement here, okay, and this allows for mutual assistance in the case of aggression. Okay, so here's Kim Jong-un's daughter, I believe, or no, that's his wife, I'm sorry, that's his wife there, and actually you can see Sergei Lavrov over here. So we have all kinds of high-profile figures from the Russian government in North Korea when Putin visited. Okay, this is very serious. And I want to remind you guys, Jens Stoltenberg slipped up the other day talking about the fighter jets that are going to Ukraine, and he said that NATO pilots will be flying these fighter jets that are going to Ukraine. Let me just play this for you.
The fact that they're now delivering F-16s, of course, it will create a future Ukrainian Air Force that will be NATO interoperable. NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots interoperable. NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots interoperable. NATO planes, NATO pilots, NATO trained pilots.
So he says NATO planes, NATO pilots, and then he catches himself and says NATO trained pilots. Okay? And here's a picture of Kim Jong-un and his delegation with Putin and his delegation. Okay, so this was a historic meeting, absolutely insane. We also had a Russian Ministry for Emergency Situations plane fly to Minsk last night. This is very concerning, guys, okay, for a Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations plane to fly to Minsk in the middle of the night means something is going on. And here we have some P-8 Poseidon sub-hunters that were active this afternoon off the coast of Florida, keeping an eye on the Russian warships here and the Russian subs. And here we have another P-8 Poseidon that was active in this area earlier this morning and late last night.